So guys, welcome to Airways.nation. First of all, I have to appreciate everybody that have been sacrificing their energy, their efforts, canvassing, agitating for the release of Nnamdi Kanu. I must say kudos to everyone. There's a video that I came across this morning, a video of Kenneth Okonkwo. Kenneth Okonkwo is somebody that I always listen to because of the eloquency in how he articulates himself, the way he speaks boldly, the way he defends whatever he believes in. And I have been wishing and hoping that one day that Kenneth Okonkwo will come out to speak about Nnamdi Kanu on a national TV. I have been wishing and hoping that the same way Showore have been going on to every national television to agitate for the release of Nnamdi Kanu, that one day somebody like Kenneth Okonkwo will come out with his voice, with his fearless voice, with its articulative grammatic expressions, that he will come and as a lawyer as well, that he will come and say what some charlatans cannot even anticipate, what some idiots cannot even wrap around their head. There is a law which you people don't believe in. There is a law in Nigeria which you don't practice. There is no rule of law. There is no, you can't say go to court when there is no court system. You can't say you can get justice in a court of law when there is no justice in any court of law. So guys, this video is not me saying it. This video is for you, for people that have not seen this interview with Kenneth Okonkwo this morning. It's my privilege to bring it onto this platform to you, for you to watch and circumspect and listen, so that when those charlatans are saying, buy Nnamdi Kanu, buy him, go to court, for you to understand that you cannot try a man for 7 years without reaching a conclusion. If you want to jail him, jail him. If you don't want to jail him, then release him. If you have evidence enough to jail him, then go ahead and do that. You are on your own courts. You are on your own court with your own constitution. You are lawyers. You are courts. You are judges. And Nnamdi Kanu have defeated you 2-3 times in your own courts. And why are you still holding him? So like I said, thank you so much, sir, Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo, for articulating yourself, for presenting the case of Nnamdi Kanu on national TV. If at least 20 people like you can always come on national TV to speak about Nnamdi Kanu, we will have a headway. We will arrive at the decision we want. That decision is the release of Nnamdi Kanu. For the youths that are outside today inhaling the tear gas of Nigerian government, I must say salute, because it's not easy. It's easy to speak on social media, but it's something else to be on the ground and match the match and walk the walk. That is why I have dedicated a lot of videos to thank Showore, to thank the lawyers, to thank everybody that have been involved agitating for the release of Nnamdi Kanu. These are legacies that we have to live. So anyways, sometimes I do talk too much. Let me allow you guys to watch this video of Kenneth Okonkwo this morning on Channels Television.
What do you make of this protest, though, the Free Nnamdi Kanu protest? There are those who are saying, look, it is legitimate, they are well within their rights to protest, it is enshrined in the Constitution, and there are those who are saying this protest is premature. The matter is still in court. There's progress being made on the matter in court. It seemed at some point that, yes, there was a lull, especially after he was brought back from Kenya. But then there are those who are saying it seems that new vigor has been given the case. Just last week, we heard from the Nigerian Medical Association that he's fit to stand trial. And it does appear that the justice system is now determined to take its course. What are your thoughts on the protests which seem to want to ground the Federal Capital Territory today?
Well, first and foremost, the Constitution is very clear. Section 36, subsection 5. That every Nigerian citizen is deemed to be innocent until proved guilty. A nation that detains a human being more than 7 years and you have him in your custody, and yet you couldn't even reach a judgment as to the culpability of his crime, is a nation that is failing in the dispensation of justice. Justice delayed is justice denied. When it comes to the issue of crime, the Constitution is very clear that the accused or defendant should be judged within a reasonable time. It is very unreasonable to keep a man in detention for almost 7 years. What are you judging? This is telling on the judicial process of Nigeria. I tell you again, in the Constitution, they say the Attorney General, while making any decision as to charging anybody, discontinuing or taking over any criminal charge, should have regard for public interest, the interest of justice, and the need not to abuse the legal process. For me, in the case of Nnamdi Kanu, the legal processes have been abused. Nobody will remain sane to be in jail for more than 7 years that a case is being tried. People are frustrated. People believe that if you do not find anything against this man, release him or reach a political solution. That is what is bringing all these things. It's a result of frustration that there is no interest of justice served in this. So, diligent prosecution is one of the pillars of justice in a criminal offense. I do not see that diligence. And the federal government is failing on all fronts. Remember, we have pleaded that this should be treated as a political issue and settled out politically so that every party will go home in peace. And then you are the one who arrested him. You are the one who put him on trial. You are the one who is delaying for up to 7 years without giving clear justice. So the federal government is failing on all rounds. And as they keep failing, they are making their matters worse.
So do you think that this is really, you've said this is a political issue.
Should be a political issue.
It should be.
Yes.
But is it?
That's what I'm saying. The government should treat it as a political issue. Remember, during the colonial masters, where people were fighting for our independence, the colonial masters saw them also as adversaries. But they were genuine fighters of freedom. So in this world, there will always be two aspects of an issue. You know, the kind of cost-benefit issue, if it is in business. What is a cost to somebody is a benefit to another. That is how you treat political issues. To some people, he's fighting and agitating for their rights and freedom. You should also take that into consideration. To you, you may say he may have infringed on some laws. Why doing that? You should take that into consideration. And if you're a wise government, you will come to a negotiation table and let each side make a shift and come to a compromise and settle this issue politically.
The issue which he agitates for, which IPOB has agitated for years, is something that countries generally find very difficult to deal with, which is the issue of self-determination. How do you think that that can be resolved, given the fact that even if the federal government were to say, look, politically, we release him today, that certainly would not stop the agitations for people who believe that they should be given a separate country of their own?
Very good. And that is why you should not attribute it to him, that he is the originator and the perpetrator of this. I think it predates him. Certainly. And might even outlive him. So it is about the government learning how to treat agitators and how to dialogue with them. Because as you have aptly stated it didn't start with him. We've had MASOP, we've had other organizations. It may certainly not end with him. So it's about people expressing in their different ways their manners of frustration with the system. When things were so good in Nigeria, I wasn't hearing all these agitations. But whatever name you call them, it is frustration to the suffering, to the hunger and hardship in the country. That is the truth.
I was going to ask, though, what side are you on? Are you on the side of the protesters? Do you support their cause? Or do you think that since this matter is already in court, pressure should be applied to the federal government to let this matter run as quickly as possible?
Very good. I am on the side of rule of law. I just told you that Nigerians have the right to protest. Section 40. And you can't take it away from them. It's their natural right, innate in them. And the Supreme Court has said, beyond exercising these rights, no human being can live a civilized life. So it is their innate natural right to protest. And it should be encouraged in a democracy. Because when you bottle up all these things, then there will be an implosion, an explosion. But when people are allowed to express themselves, according to Section 39, they will ease off their anger, they will feel they've been heard, and then the government will also use it to understand the feeling of the people and know the solutions they are from and they are at. So the issue is that it is a support to rule of law. What does rule of law say? Somebody is innocent until you prove him guilty. And you must prove him guilty within a reasonable time. When it's unreasonable, it's no longer rule of law. And for me, keeping somebody for 7 years in the name of trial is unreasonable. So, whatever it is, it should end now. Nnamdi Kanu should be released. Either the justice system moves at the speed it ought to move. In our laws, criminal trial ought to be held every day until judgment. That is what the law says. So I am on the side of law. I'm on the side of justice. Whether there's marginalization against the Southeast, that is given. So whether people will agitate, that is legal. Their method of agitation should also be legal. And if the government believes somebody has exceeded, then when you're applying the law, apply it legally, judiciously, and judicially. And in the case of Nnamdi Kanu, with respect, I can say they have not lived up to it.
Today is also the 5th anniversary of the NSAS protest. That was one protest that we saw a lot of young people come out to express their displeasure with the way the Nigeria police, or will I say an arm of the Nigeria police, had treated a number of young people over the years, indiscriminate detention. And after a while, the protest morphed into something else and morphed into a general protest of complaint against the state in general and the state of affairs. Sadly, that protest did not end well. I mean, in terms of the conflict that degenerated between federal government forces and the protesters. And that had implications for a lot of people, had implications for businesses. I mean, we saw what happened afterwards, the aftermath of the protest, where businesses were, destroyed and all of that. So on days like this, when, this sort of protests are declared, people usually are very cautious. Businesses are wary. How do we balance this need for protest, which is a legitimate right, and the fears? Because the protesters, yes, they're protesting a certain cause, and I'm sure a lot of people share their cause for justice, but they also fear that it might not end well. At the end of the day, it affects whatever little that they have been able to build within the system. On a sister program this morning, we saw the complainants come to talk about how the government of the day has pulled down the little business that they have been able to build. That is a demolition, is something different. But when protests now generate to something that actually affects lives and livelihoods, how do we call that balance?
This is where the efficiency from the state comes into view. Abroad, it is the duty of the security agencies to maintain law and order. And that includes protecting the protesters and ensuring that they are doing their protest in accordance with the law. There's nothing wrong with the police guiding the protesters on the ways they should protest to make sure that it remains peaceful. If you recall, just like you have enunciated the issue of the NSAS, when it started, one of their demands was the welfare of the police. Telling you everybody in Nigeria is under torture. Telling you the nation and the government has failed everybody, including the security agencies. We have seen it. That's why I said most of what you're seeing in Nigeria is a manifestation of the suffering, of the hunger and hardship in the system, including that of the security agencies. When a man has not eaten from morning and is carrying a rifle, he is always triggered and can be irrational in his behavior against human beings. So the whole idea is that things are not working because the indices are not doing well. and the government is reading out statistics that is more tormenting. You know what George Sylvester said? He said, when a nation's growth is on paper, but its people sinks in hunger, say that's not progress. That is polished poverty, wearing a mask of statistics. So when people are suffering, and the government of the day is using fake statistics to mask their suffering, it becomes more frustrating because they know there is no end in sight. Because when the government is making that mask, they are hiding under a mischief for the suffering to continue, not a sincere desire to bring about solutions. So Nigeria has become a theater where the government is not governing well and the people are not trusting the government. And that is what you're seeing in the protests. When the NSAS met with government agreed at the initial stage to answer all their demands. But you could still see that lack of trust. They will still go and sit down and say, until we see it implemented. Because to them, once we leave this arena, it will be forgotten. And in all honesty, what they said was right. ASU went into agreement with federal government since 2009. Immediately they leave the table, the government forgets it. Till today, 2009 agreement is still being brought to the fore, and strike is being called because of it. So government must live up to the true meaning of its name, protecting the security and welfare of the people, and ensuring under the concept of pacta sunt servanda that a party to an agreement must respect the terms of the agreement. If the government starts respecting the agreement it has with Nigerian people, starting from the social contract, this will build trust in the minds of the people, and continually that trust will build. And when the government makes a promise, the people will not sit down and say, you must fulfill it before we leave here. That is what is going on.
All right, I'm not alone on this program. I know that my colleague Ayo certainly has questions for you. Ayo, over to you.
Well, thank you, Markwe. I think quite significantly a number of things are being covered. But Mr. Okonkwo, I'd like, and you've spoken to a few things, and I'd like you to, help us understand what are the missing links here. You've cited the ASU Federal Government 2009 agreement. You've also referenced the fact that the issues that brought up the Free Nnamdi Kanu protest predated Nnamdi Kanu and may even outlive him. You're probably referring to the Civil War and the fact that, as you also said earlier, the Saudis, the kind of political sidelining, if I can use that term, of the Saudis is something you said, according to your precise word, is a given. And there are a number of other things. You talked about the NSAS, that the issues of NSAS were more about welfare of the police as opposed to, just agitation for agitation's sake. Between 2009 and 2025, a good number of people that were in government are no longer in government. Well, supposedly. Between the Civil War and now, so many waters have passed under the bridge. It begs the question of exactly how do we forestall these kinds of protests? If government is a continuum, where do we have the roadblocks that hinder the progress that should have taken us way beyond this place, such that we won't have the protests of issues that date back decades?
Very good. The simple answer to your question is Nigeria is under the siege of incompetent and corrupt leaders. Can you imagine in a nation if the money invested in our refineries had been used to repair our refineries and they are working and we are not importing and fuel is very cheap? In other words, you have reasonable energy cost. Can you imagine in a nation where our educational institution has continued its growth right from 1960 without this abuse on the lecturers and the students through meager salary and through not taking care of the environment of learning? Can you imagine if such an educational institution is empowered with the resources it needs? Can you imagine if our healthcare system is working as it's supposed to work? Can you imagine a nation that is blessed with oil and with solid minerals? If these minerals have been harnessed and there is fair distribution of wealth amongst everybody, can you imagine such a nation? Do you think there would be agitations? People wouldn't even have the time. They would be busy working. They will be busy inventing. Can you imagine a nation if all the money pumped into electricity, they have utilized it to give us 24 hours electricity? Can you imagine who is going to go to protest? People are going to protest because they are idle. They are hungry. Things are hard. It is not because they want to go and risk their lives using their head to defend a bullet. Nigeria is a nation that is potentially great. And on the day we have free, fair, credible election that will help us to elect competent leaders who would have the people as their focus.
And that brings the
in 20
question.
years, we'll become a superpower nation.
My apologies,
I have
Mr.
prayed,
Okonkwo.
and
Just
I
a
believe
second.
that in my generation,
Yes.
I shall see this country
Yeah.
metamorphose into that.
Now,
So
that
what
raises the
we
question.
have
Just a
is
second. Just a second, sir.
failure of leadership.
Just 1 second, Mr. Okonkwo. Perhaps that raises the question. When you talk about the fact that, elected officials and all, it raises the question of, when we talk about government, exactly who is government? Between 1966, 67, and now, we've had quite a number of governments. But there is always a continuum. That is what we expect is the case. Since 2009 and now, the maximum number of years an elected official has is 4 years, renewable every 4 years. Only for 2 terms for the executive, and I'm not sure what the term is for legislators. But we have civil servants that are always there, maximum 35 years or until they turn a particular age. So where is the but? Is the question that I'm asking. Do you think the civil service could have helped to bring to the attention the elected officials, to the attention of the elected officials, that, guys, these outstanding issues are there? Or do you think it is something that, every elected official just comes and just ends what was on ground before? I don't know if you understand the question I'm asking.
Yes. If I understood you very well, you're talking about the civil service, the elected people, who is to be blamed, or how would the solution come? The truth is that what we are suffering in Nigeria is systemic corruption. It is systemic because there is no deterrence. In a nation where corruption is not deterred, when you want to fight it, you are at a risk. The civil servants are now colluding with the politicians to extort Nigeria and to manipulate the process for their benefit. So the issue here is that you see how corruption is working on 2 legs, and even the ones that are charged, convicted down to Supreme Court, you will see politicians like Tinubu just did, pardoning some corrupt people that even the Supreme Court has declared corrupt and jailed.
Yeah, but
when you pardon such people,
let me just quickly
you're sending a message to people that there is no need. They are sticking out their neck against such people, because such people will come back to the system as elected, and they will begin to take their pound of flesh on the people that genuinely fought that they should be punished.
So, Mr. Okonkwo, just a moment, though. Yes. I mean, because some people say, where there is no sin, there is no need for pardon. I mean, yes, where no crime has been committed and, conviction secured, there will be no need for pardon. And so the people perhaps who need a pardon are those who have been convicted, yes, even by the Supreme Court. Yes. And in reaction to the uproar that, the public outcry, so to speak, we saw a message from the Attorney General's office saying that it's not the last word had not been heard on it, that there is a review still going on, because they have to now take a second look at it and then give the list to the Comptroller General of Prisons or the Correction Service, and that is yet to take place. From your mind, or to your mind, what do you think, or do you think that there is really a space? Because I've also heard lawyers say this is medicine after death. If the president has already given his pardon to these people and it's gone to the Council of State, there is nothing more that can be done. What are your thoughts, especially as a lawyer?
You see, this government keeps exposing its incompetence every day. Does it mean that they talk before they think? After announcing people, after going through the Council of State, you have come down to sit down to say you want to review the process. That is in itself incompetence, standing on two legs. But let me tell you the story of what one justice said. One brilliant justice from the Southwest. He said he was transferred to a city. And in that city, he was welcomed with newspaper review. People knocked down, killed on the road. Careless drivers. Accident. You know what he said? He said when he sat down, the first case they brought to him, he gave the person a very harsh sentence to jail. The person that killed somebody, a driver. He said he did it the second time, and he said it ceased. Why am I saying this? The whole idea of punishment is not in the desire of any country to inflict injuries on its citizens, but for deterrence. Nobody is rejoicing that some people are in jail or some people are facing execution. But how do you deter others from doing it? So what Tinubu is doing is encouraging people to do it. So nobody is saying that to be merciful is not good. No, but you have to match-make what you are trying to be merciful at with the justice of the situation and the public interest. I told you this, Section 174, subsection 3 of the Constitution. You have to check the public interest. Somebody murdered, okay, a lady murdered the husband in cold blood, and you're telling me, oh, release her. You will see other people on the same matter, murdering their husbands the next day. Everybody has one problem or the other. But when you remember what the consequences will be, then you will forbear. You will take a better option, apart from shedding innocent blood. Do you know what it means theologically? And I talk as a theologian. It says the blood of the murderer that is needed to clean out the cry of the blood of the innocent against the land. That's there in the Bible. The blood cries against the land when you murder an innocent person. And if you are a leader and you go to ignorantly forgive such a person who murdered without a cause, you have become an accomplice spiritually to that blood that is crying against the land. We have to be very careful. You must exercise the privilege of pardon or prerogative of mercy, having the interest of the public, having the interest of justice, and making sure you do not abuse the legal process.
So is it too late?
To do what?
To review it.
You know, with this government, anything is possible. For me, I may not say it is too late. I'm saying it's not right for you to do something and then create an impression in the mind of somebody that you have forgiven, and then coming back to say, no, I have not forgiven again. It is simply distasteful, and for me, whether it is right or wrong, it's inelegant. And this government speaks volume. And the Attorney General of the Federation, I'm sorry, he has not impressed me on this. Because he's the chairman of such committee that makes such recommendation. So what is he saying? Is he coming to tell us now that he didn't know what he was doing when he did that? Me, I believe they were wrong.
Well, it's a fine place to leave it, but we'll wait to see, just how the Office of the Attorney General reacts to some of the legal issues that have been raised with the review, which he says might still be possible with the pardon that has been granted by the president. But while we wait for that, we have to thank you for coming on Sunrise Daily and giving your thoughts as candidly as you always do. Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo is a lawyer, columnist, and public affairs analyst. Thank you once more.
Thank you very much.